looking at the NCA sample exams, I noticed that a lot of exams require you to write a memo. For instance, I noticed that in Canadian criminal law, Canadian administrative law, foundations of Canadian law, there are questions that are asking you to write a memo. Now, I'm not sure if a lot of people know how to write a memo because I learned it when I did my LLM and then when I did the law practice program. And writing a memo requires you to follow a specific format. And so I thought that maybe I could use this platform to teach you guys how to write a memo specifically on the NCA exam, because I'm going to tweak the format a little bit, because I don't think that you need some informations because you don't have a lot of time on the exam. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. First, I will tell you, if you don't know how to write anything, what are the steps that you can take to learn it by yourself. The second is I've pulled up a question from Foundations of Canadian Law. I believe it's question number 1. I'm going to use that to show you how to write a memo. The format, pretty much. I'm not going to answer the question for you, but I'll show you the format that you need to use on the exam. So if you're interested, keep watching. If you don't know how to write something, you can Google it. So I already did, so I'm just going to click that. So when I see the results, I'm going to make sure that I look at the link that I can trust the most. So as you go down, I know that it's at the bottom, but I noticed that Canly, it talks about how to write a legal memo. And I would trust Canly because it's a legal research tool used in Canada. And I'm sure you have access. Yeah, it's free and you can access it as much as you like. So I'm just opening it up over here. Now, this is a comprehensive guide, and I think that you should be reading all of it because it's really important. And honestly, this is all I learned when I was in law school, when I did my LLM, and then also the law practice program, like conducting legal research and writing. These are all the things that I learned. So if you have a chance, I would highly recommend that you read all of it. Now, because today we're only going to be focusing on preparing a legal memo, so I'm just going to go there. So you can see that there's a lot of information here, and this is exactly what I learned in school. So you can take a look at it and see how a legal memo is comprised of certain standard elements. So if you don't have these in your answer, then that pretty much means that you're not writing a memo and you're just writing an answer. So it's important that you go through it. And as you can see that they talk about different formats that you can use. So format 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can see which one you want to use in your answer. And yeah, you can go down and take a look at everything that's here. Also, they're talking about IRAC, which is great. This is something that you need to know when you're answering a problem question. So you can take a look at that too. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a question from an exam, and then I will go through the format that I think that you should be using on the NCA exam, and I will show you how I'll use this format to write an answer. So I've opened an exam over here. This is Foundations of Canadian Law. The exam is on the NCA website. You go down, this is question number 1, and this is what I'm going to be answering. So, now whenever you're writing a memo, you need to follow a specific format. So, to, from, date. So, this is what you need to, this is how you're going to start your answer. So who are you sending this memo to? I would put the examiner. From, that's my name. So date, whatever the date is. And then subject. Subject pretty much means like, what is this memo about? So I would think that this memo is about Indigenous affairs. So I'm just going to put that in. You can put anything else too, if you think that's relevant. Now, as we saw that the first heading was facts. Now, I wouldn't use this heading on the exam just because you don't have a lot of time and you don't want to restate the facts again. And this is something I also read if you go to the NCA resources provided by the NCA, they give you an article that I spoke about in one of my videos. If you haven't watched it, you can watch. I'll link it over here. That article tells us that we don't need to rewrite the facts. We should use the facts to analyze. So I'm not going to use this heading because I don't think it's relevant. On my exams, I didn't use it and I passed it, so I'm assuming it's okay. So I wouldn't use that heading. I will go straight to issues. And then brief conclusion. And then discussion. Trust me, I'm not that bad at spellings. It's just... anyway, discussion, yeah. So these are your headings. So you want to make sure that the examiner knows that they're your headings. Yeah, so I'm just gonna... So you get the idea. The reason that I'm doing this is so that you know that these are headings. Now, what are the issues that you're dealing with in this question? I would think that this is the issue. You might have more in your mind, but I'm just going to give you the basic idea so that you know how to write a memo. I'm not going to go too much detail into the content. Now, I think this is one of the issues that the examiner is asking us to deal with. So, how the legal interpretation could be shifted in relation to the duty to consult with indigenous communities about developments in their traditional territories. This is what the examiner is asking us to talk about, right? Now, what is the brief conclusion? Like, what am I trying to say? If the examiner didn't want to read all of your discussion, what is the conclusion that you're trying to get to? So I would say that legal interpretation in the following ways. So 1, 2, and 3. This is how I would write my conclusion, because the conclusion, it's better to have the conclusion in a way that is easy to read. If, let's just say, you have more than one issues, then you want to make sure that this is the answer to question number, this is the answer to issue number 1, and then that's the answer to issue number 2. So because now we only have one issue, it's okay to do what I initially did. Okay, so now once we're done that, we're going to start with the discussion. Discussion is where the bulk of your answer is going to be. If it's a problem question, you're going to be using the IREC method. But if the examiner is asking you to critically analyze the statement or asking you for your opinion, remember in my last video I told you how to do that. So discussion is going to be where the bulk of your answer is going to be, and you're going to discuss it. So I'm not going to go into the discussion because it's going to take a lot of time. The last heading is references. Now, I did not include references on my exam. If you have the time, I think you should. But if you don't, I don't think it's a making and breaking point. References pretty much means you jot down all the cases, statutes, or articles that you used. So, I mean, whatever it is, you can jot down here. But if, let's just say, you don't have enough time, when you're discussing it, you could still use the references. For example, you could say, in case X versus Z, it was held, whatever. So you're pretty much stating the case. Or in the article titled XYZ, written by, whoever the name is. Okay, but let's just say I wrote it. It was said XYZ. So these are the resources that you're using to answer this question. If you have the time, certainly you can use it in the discussion and also in the references section. It's entirely up to you. But if you don't have time, I wouldn't be too fussed about this one. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is the specific format that you need to follow. If you don't follow this format, then again, the examiner probably is going to think that you don't know how to write a memo. If you found this video helpful, you should subscribe to my channel or perhaps like this video, because it takes a lot of time, effort, and energy to make these. And if I know that I am helping people out, then I would be more motivated to make more videos. So yeah, you should probably do that. And then In my next video, I'm going to talk about 3 things that you need to know in order to pass Canadian criminal law. So if you are interested, subscribe so that you don't miss my next video. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon.